Acton in Focus is brought to you by Gallant Insurance Agency.
Welcome to Acton in Focus. I'm Vivian Birchall, your host, and my special guest today is Peter Daniels. He has two hats right now. He's wearing two hats. One, he is the owner of Rapscallion Tables and
Tap.
Or
Rapscallion is fine.
Rapscallion.
Yeah.
We'll get him to say the right name. And he's also the president of the Middlesex West Chamber of Commerce. Am I right?
That's correct.
Welcome to the show, Peter.
Yeah, thank you.
I butchered the name of your business. I just know it as Rapscallion because...
That's perfect. That's, we have a few locations and they're all Rapscallion and something. So I like to actually make it easier. Do Rapscallion Acton, Rapscallion Sturbridge, and so forth. So that way you don't have to remember all the...
Right. And don't be deceived by my butchering the name. This is one of my homes away from home. It has my comfort food, and so it's an honor to be here with Peter Daniels to talk about the craft beer industry, since this is a brewery, the food and restaurant industry, and also what the Chamber of Commerce has been up to and is planning, the vision. With that, I want to start with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
COVID-19 has impacted businesses in our community in many ways. What has been the trend in your perspective, and what is your role at the chamber right now for the sake of our viewers?
Sure. Yeah, I'm one of the volunteers on the board. Every year we kind of switch out and get people to do executive committee roles. So I've only been volunteering there now maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe a little longer, 5 years. So last year there was we try to have everybody take part in the roles like president, vice president, and treasurer, and so forth. So this year, during COVID actually is when the new team came in on the executive committee, which was definitely a challenging year for, I think, I can speak on behalf of our chamber, but I think it's the same case in chambers all over the country. Obviously, the whole business climate changed, so it definitely, gave a lot of people some hurdles in organizations. So, and I think it's the same case with a lot of these civic organizations, whether it's the Rotaries, the BNIs, Lions clubs. So I think there's a lot of people doing terrific things and volunteering, trying to keep the community going, whether that's from a business sense or from a charitable sense in another way. And this COVID, these past 2 years has definitely been, had to get people to innovate and think differently and how to survive and move forward. So we were very fortunate to have a great leader running it, our executive director, John Kerr, who I think you've met a few times. Your colleague, Mark, is also volunteered on our board for many, many years. So we have a great mix of people here in our community, Middlesex West community, that have been volunteering on the board. So, it's great to have them now to try to figure out how we're going to steer this organization through. So, unfortunately, John, who has spent close to 5 years with us, is going to move and spend his attention to the private sector and his own business. So we are losing him officially just the last few weeks. So we're now in a transition to try to figure out what the next step is for the future of the chamber. So the board is meeting often to try to figure this out. So we're looking forward to it.
All right. And what's the criteria for membership?
Yeah, membership, and we're trying, and that's kind of the name of the game with any of these chambers is getting participation at a membership level. So, it all varies on different levels depending on how many employees you have in your business, but obviously anybody can join. You know, businesses, social service organizations, schools, hospitals, anybody can join the local chamber. So we welcome everybody that wants to be involved in the community, who is involved in an organization with a business, to take part. You know, and again, that varies from small business to mid-sized business to large business. You know, we're very lucky to have Insulet and many of the banks very involved on a sponsorship level. So it varies on the spectrum, and then beyond that, remember, it all depends. I mean, we have people just who write the check, which is great. You know, it keeps the organization going and helps us, and who don't really attend a lot of the events or take part in the advocacy that happens throughout the year, or with, you know, the peer-to-peer type communication and so forth. And, you know, that's great. But we also have a lot of small businesses and individuals who are very involved and who attend a lot of the events and who are active with from the grassroots to, you know, again, the advocacy and helping out their local community businesses. So it can vary.
What are some of the needs of the businesses that you have witnessed or observed over the past, say, couple years, and what is going to be some key actions you're going to have to take?
Yeah, absolutely. The big part, you know, it all depends based on industry. I mean, I can definitely speak on behalf of my industry, which is hospitality, food and beverage, and so forth. And that industry particularly obviously had a tough time during COVID. So there's a lot more challenges and things that the chamber can be assisting. And the chamber did a terrific job. John did a terrific job. The last few years, really his role, the chamber's role, what they did really well at was communicating the state guidelines and help, whether that was through government programs, on the state level, fed level, even in the town level, from anything from the big PPP rollout to local small business recovery type grants and funds. So he did a terrific job, and the board has done a terrific job, and the chamber has done really well at, you know, communicating that to all the local businesses. So that was priority number one, was, you know, I like to call it, I guess, advocacy and on behalf of all the local members here in Middlesex West Chamber of Commerce. You know, going forward, you know, again, speak directly about this business and all the local restaurants, hotels. You know, just in the state alone, Massachusetts, there's 16,000 restaurants, and I think
16,000. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so I think that's, you know, brew pubs,
Okay.
taverns, full scale restaurants, you know, high end to you know, mom and pop to so that encompasses all of it. And of those 16,000 restaurants, 3,400, I believe, closed during COVID for good, permanently. So that's
a big number.
It's a big number. My math, I think that's right around 20% or less than 20%. So I think nationwide we might be a little above that, but, you know, I want to speak to the whole membership base in all their industries, but I can speak a little better about the hospitality just because that's what I do day to day. But I think that's a big challenge going forward. Because I think you're seeing a lot of parity. You know, for instance, places in the cities are going to struggle a little more now because they're a little more tourist dependent. There are a lot of restaurants and bars in the city. There's less space. You know, right now people want to be outside, right?
Yep.
It's safer. So it's tougher for restaurants and bars and hospitality in the city to have outside space. So they got to get creative.
Right.
Obviously, hotels are having a tough time in the city because they're dependent on conferences and big, big people
events,
coming in, big events and so forth. So I think out here in Metro West or in the suburbs, we're positioned a little better, the restaurants. I know for us, you know, the community kept us going. So when you're rooted in the community, not to say that restaurants and hospitality places in the cities aren't rooted. A lot of times you might have absentee ownership, or you have restaurant group, you know, you don't have that local foundation.
Yeah.
You know, my brother Cedric and I, this is what we do day to day. We're at the locations. You know, Cedric and I, between the 4 locations, are always at one location every day. At the end of the day, we like to think, you know, this is a service that we're providing to the community, which we think it is, you know, a social service, and people, this is a place where they come and meet, and, you know, and it ranges for us. You know, our clientele at all 4 of our locations go from retirees to, you know, families to young professionals. So it kind of spans every generation. So anyway, speaking, I don't want to go on and on
No,
about
that's
the
okay.
restaurant industry, but and what you're going to find now too, we may be 3,400 restaurants that have closed in Massachusetts. That number is it's a bigger ratio in the nation. But I think what the chamber can do really well, any chamber, including Middlesex West Chamber, going forward, is try to figure out ways to close that gap. And I think the gap for our industry, and it's going to probably apply to a lot of industries, is that parity again. So, you had a lot of people who got PPP help, who got grant help, but then there's a lot of independent small restaurants that just didn't get that help.
Right.
So they're at a disadvantage now because the people who got the help have the resources and the funds, via or as the government conduit, to be able to afford help. Yeah. And right now, I'm sure you guys read the papers. There's staff shortages. There's supply and demand challenges right now. So those organizations and restaurants that got that money are in a better position, right? So there's a wage parity.
Right.
So they can afford the help to come on, and they can be staffed and so forth. So you're going to see, challenges like that. How can the chamber help the wage parity? How can they help? There's an inequality gap. And it's something, this is one example, but I think it can apply to many industries. The same thing happened in 2008 with the recession, right? I think a lot of asset-based families and individuals did really well because the marketplace did well, but was the money really going to the ground level, to people who are actually creating jobs or who are an income-based economy or income-based employers? So I think that was a challenge then, and you're kind of seeing the same challenge now. So,
you talked about the supply chain, and I just want us to scale back to your particular work here. This is a brew pub. So how has that affected the supply chain? How has it been affected in that industry? And also, most importantly, how did you get into this kind of work? What drove you to open a brew pub in a town like Acton?
Yeah, no, there's a little history there, which is fun little history. First, I'll answer your question on supply chain. We see it in this industry or in our restaurants. Everything from chicken prices. It's amazing, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is that because of that wage parity, or because the COVID and the pandemic threw a lot of this off. You're seeing these manufacturers like a chicken manufacturer, right? Someone that who had a struggle staffing certain shifts. Maybe they didn't do 3 shifts. So because of that, prices have gone up. There's always prices that have been fluctuated, and that's in our industry, and that was normal. Like lobster, things like that are always going to go up and down. But you're seeing things now in our industry that are always pretty fixed go up and down because of probably a wage parity, shortage of help, and so forth. So we're seeing that in a lot of our raw goods that come in, like raw chicken and just everything. Sometimes at the beginning was to-go packaging because everybody, there was a surge to get that, and then that kind of, became scarce and so forth. So we're seeing it every day. We're trying to make sure we don't pass it on to the customer, and we try to, we want to make sure it stays consistent.
That must be tough to do.
It is, yeah. That's, one of the biggest challenges we saw in our brewery side of it. And Cedric, my brother, can speak to it better, but with cans, like one industry that did really well during COVID was liquor stores, because people were, they couldn't go out, so they were going to liquor stores, and they're staying home, so they were purchasing that there, and that industry did very well. Yeah. But because of that, there was a can shortage, right, for aluminum and so forth, and that created a price fluctuation and so forth. So, but yeah, so we see it in many examples.
All right.
But yeah, the reason we're here, Cedric and I started a business. We were working day jobs in downtown Boston right out of college. This is going back to 2000, and we always enjoyed craft breweries and craft beer, and so we always wanted to start our own business. We have family on both my mother's side and father's side have been involved with, they've had small businesses their whole life. So we kind of grew up seeing it and saying, that's something we want to do. So we didn't know what that was going to be. So we kind of went to something we enjoyed doing, which was
craft beer.
Yeah, craft beer, exactly. But how that kind of morphed into where we are now has been a kind of an interesting history and story. But anyway, long story short is in the early 2000s, we decided we were going to start a company that services draft beer. So like draft beer systems, home beer system. So like you've seen it. You go to your friend's house and they have like a draft beer system. We started getting involved with that. And over time, because we were doing that, we were at beer festivals. We were getting to know a lot of craft brewers. And an opportunity came up where this brewery was available to continue because it started. Rapscallion is kind of the brand we use and the name we use, but our official name is Concord Brewery.
Concord Brewery.
Yeah, so when the employees get their checks, right, it says Concord Brewery on it, or our tax returns say Concord Brewery on it. And that's because the brewery started just down the road in West Concord in 1993. Okay. Just past the prison there on Commonwealth Ave, where you know where Neshoba Bakery is. That's where the brewery started. So it's got a long history. We took it over when it was moved to Lowell.
Okay.
So another owner took it over from those guys in Concord, and they were in Lowell. And then when that Lowell owner decided he didn't want to move forward with the brewery, we decided we were going to take it from there, and we've been with it since.
Oh, nice.
So, and we've done a bunch of different things. You know, we went from Lowell to Holyoke to brew beer because we kind of, my brother and I decided to change the whole business model up.
Okay.
Go draft only, you know, get out of the brick and mortar side of the business. So we were contracting beers, and we were going to other breweries, friends of ours that had brick and mortar breweries, and we were pretty much just leasing or giving them our recipe, and they were producing our beer. So from Holyoke, we ended up in Sturbridge, and Sturbridge was our first brick and mortar brewery, and that happened just about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. And that's why we're in Sturbridge now, and we have a pub in Sturbridge, and then our physical brewery is in Spencer. And the reason we're here is another, you know, just a little bit of history is my father-in-law operated a restaurant here called Chez Claude since 1976.
He's a great
person.
So
you know Claude. He's very involved.
He's my neighbor.
He's your neighbor. That's right. And he's very involved in the community, and he has been. You know, he's still here every day, right, in the town. He didn't retire, go back to France. He stayed here in the community, and it's just terrific that, you know, my brother and I thought it was terrific that we're not doing French fine dining here, right? But I think it's great that we carried on the hospitality tradition at this location. And it was definitely a challenge when we first did it because he didn't know if our family-friendly brew pub casual concept would work because it's always been French fine dining. And we didn't know it would work, but we went for it. And now, you know, he's a terrific landlord. Him and my wife are my landlord, which is great. But it's a family, you know, it's, again, in the family business. He's involved. You know, he comes in every day, and he loves to see what we've done here. My father and mother help out. My mother does all the gardening here. They live in Peterborough, New Hampshire, but they come down, they drive down. She does all the grounds here. She takes care.
These are beautiful.
Yeah, and that's
flowers.
that's all my mother and a few people that work here as well that help her.
Makes it feel so homey.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a host, Lisa, who again raised her family here in town, and she helps out with my mother. My father, who's a retired accountant, they both live in Peterborough. They drive an hour down to help. You know, they come down, 2-3 times a week to help out. So I got my father in the office doing the books. So it's terrific that we're able to keep that, the hospitality tradition going here in town, but also keep it a really independent family business.
Exactly. That's what I could hear. You know, that's the family support that you have is amazing. So a few days ago, I had a conversation with the other True West brew pub, and there was an interesting conversation about pairing foods, and that now takes us to the details of the beers, the craft beers. So I have learned that there are certain beers that go well with certain foods. Do you have specific? Now that you merged the hospitality part of it and the food with your passion, which is the beer, are there foods that have been paired well with your beers?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to pair as most we can in as many spots as we can on the menu. Right now, I mean, just on our summer menu that we have going here, and even in Concord, we have, for instance, the mussels as an appetizer. We infuse our beer with that. A lot of the gravies and roux sauces we'll use like darker beers because it's a darker sauce. So we're doing that with, for instance, our appetizer poutine and our ravioli entree. So we try to, and then things you see a lot of restaurants do. For instance, the beer batter that we use for fish and chips is our lager. Makes it a nice light batter that we have. So yeah, we try to go in many spots as we can, but they have fun with it. Both our chefs do a terrific job. Our chef here, speaking of family, our head chef, his sous chef is his older brother here. They're both from Guatemala. They have a couple cousins working back there. So it's definitely, I love to see that it's a family business in the back of the house as well. And I think that makes them even work. They have a passion. They really treat this place like
and they're immigrants,
Yes,
Guatemala.
yes, absolutely. There's a lot of which is terrific, and I love to see that diversity. And my Cedric and I were born in Canada, but I wouldn't consider, I consider Canada
It is still international.
Yeah, I guess it's international, but I consider it kind of part of America. But no, it's terrific. We have a variety of from South America, from Central America. But it's great to see that family aspect.
So let's go on
inside. We'll go meet
the
chef
and also meet the brother who is the expert at the brewery.
Yeah, Cedric will be here, and you can ask him the beer. I keep diverting your beer questions because I'll let him answer those.
Right, so. I can't wait.
Anyway, let's go see if Chef Cesar is back there.
Okay, let's go meet the chef. And right with me is Cesar, who makes my favorite food at Rapscallion. Do you know what my favorite food is?
No.
Wings.
Wings?
Yeah,
that's good.
And he says, Peter says that you have a special recipe for the wings.
Yes, we do, yeah.
But before I get into that, first of all, welcome to our show.
Okay.
What inspired you to be a chef?
What inspired me? Well, pretty much, I like cooking, since I was little, like in Guatemala, where I was born. I started cooking.
In Guatemala?
There. Yes.
Yeah.
You see my grandparents, my mother, and everybody cooking, and that's what it started to call me to be cooking too,
Right.
And then I come to this country, and then I start cooking too, though. So I work with great chef and everything, so that's what I like me. And I love to cook,
You love to cook?
Yeah.
What are your favorite foods to cook?
What is my favorite? It's pastas.
Pastas.
Pastas, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter was just telling us how awesome you are and how lucky he is to have you here in his kitchen. So, what do people like the most from your experience being a chef here?
And here,
Yeah.
I think, they love the same thing that you love, the wings. That's something that a lot of people love. And then right now we have the cauliflower bang bang too. That is selling a lot too, though.
What does that have?
That one it has bang bang sauce, so it's a sweet sauce that it has. It's very good.
Okay.
And then with the fried cauliflower, though.
Okay. Yeah. And on a tip, how long does it take for you to make the wings on average in terms of timing?
The wings is a big process.
Okay.
Yes. First of all, we cook it in the oven. We season it with our recipe that we have. We cook it in the oven, and then after we bring it outside for the smoker that we have with apple wood smoke.
Yeah.
And then we smoke it there, and then we bring it inside to cool it down, and then that's when they go in the fryer, though. And after that, that's when they go to the tables.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I now appreciate it the more because you put in so much time for, for the food I love.
Yeah.
I really love the wings. I can't say that enough, but
Yeah.
But
No,
thank you for bringing us tasty food.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Is there anything you want our viewers to know about your work as a chef?
Not really, though.
At Rapscallion.
Yeah, well, Rapscallion is good. I've been working a lot of places around here,
Yeah.
And then I think this place is great, though. People love the food. We are great customers.
Yeah.
We love the customer. We try to take care of them, Sometimes, as guests are busy and they have to wait a little bit, but we do our best,
Yeah.
And then I hope everybody like to come to here to eat.
Yeah, I personally appreciate you, and I can't wait to come back this weekend some point just to eat the wings that you've made.
That's good. Yeah.
Thank you, Cesar, for your time.
Thank you.
All right, see you around.
Yeah.
Earlier on, I was with Peter, and right now I'm with his twin brother, Cedric, who is the guru of the craft beer. Am I right?
I'm on the beer side, correct. I work in the beer production side of the business.
Welcome to Acton in Focus. We just want to know what drove you as brothers to get into the beer industry and what's special about the beers that you make.
Right, sure. I'll start with what got us in. It sort of came full circle. When we took over the business in mid 2000s, we were the fourth group to keep this brand and business going, and it actually started in West Concord. back in the 90s. So we saw an opportunity. We got to know the prior group, and we saw an opportunity to keep it going, and we went for it back in the mid 2000s.
And
then
what-
yep.
And what makes you the beer expert?
Right. So the beer, all of our beer here at the restaurant at both Concord and Acton is made at our new facility in Spencer, and that is 8 months new. We've been brewing for 8 years in Sturbridge, a couple towns over, and then we found this new home, and we make all our beer. It's a 20-barrel system in Spencer. And at the moment, we have around 5 or 6 draft lines, different styles, and we're hoping to get up to around 8 or 10. And we do all our beer in Spencer. We also have a little tap room there, a little tasting room, and then we have a little pub in Sturbridge as well.
When you say styles, what do you mean by styles?
So a big thing for us at Rapscallion, we're all about consistency and different ranges, different style ranges. For example, we have, your traditional IPAs, your New England IPAs that are very trendy now. We have a nice Irish Red that's malty. We have a nice American Lager, which we had a little sign up here. It comes from a recipe from 1898, very traditional, easy drinking lager. We have our flagship beer, which is our top seller, the Honey Pale Ale. What else? We have Belgian beers, which are very unique. So we have something for everyone, for the most part.
And do you have recipes that are only exclusive to Rapscallion or to your company?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And they've evolved over the years, but we started off with a honey. But for example, the lager is a recipe from 1898, so loosely based on that recipe. Right?
Okay.
So we have the recipe that we've gotten over the years, and we, obviously it's a different water source at the moment than it was in 1898 back in Lowell, Massachusetts. So it's evolved over the years. But our head brewer, Jonas Noble, he does a very good job of making sure we have something for everyone and making it always consistent. So the Honey Pale Ale you had a couple years ago is going to taste, for the most part, just like today.
Okay.
So he does he communicates with the chefs
And what has been your biggest challenge with the pandemic and all that, with the craft beer industry, and especially your business?
Yeah, sure. We're a little bit unique where we're in the microbrewing business, but we also have some restaurants.
Okay.
Not every brewery has that, so we see some challenges on both fronts with the manufacturing of the beer and also this part of it. But like all restaurants now, a big part is the staffing and just keeping up with all the regulations and making sure everything is a safe environment, and everything changes obviously so quickly now with this new thing coming up, the variant. So that's been the biggest challenge, just keeping up with it all and doing your best to keep plugging away.
And is there anything that you would like our viewers to know about your particular business, this company, or the craft beer industry in general?
Sure. We've been here in Acton since 2014, and we have a place in Concord and the 2 places in Spencer and Sturbridge, and we're going to continue to offer our mug members who are regulars and our regular guests everything that we've been doing over the years with our beer styles and food, and we're just going to keep doing our best to treat them the best possible way and provide them the best experience.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Take care.
And for our viewers, thank you for watching ActonTV. This was us at Rapscallion. Till next time.